But on reflection now, why do you think so many homes that your friends and your neighborhood only had didn't have many fathers around? Would you think that was by design or because that doesn't seem it just seems as if it seems very systemic that men weren't around to raise their children.
I believe a few things happen. If you go back to the 60s, late 50s and 60s, um, on a high school education, Black families were able to really sustain themselves because they worked in the factories. They had great jobs. Back then, you could own your own home. You had enough money to send your kids to college if you worked in one of those factories,
Mm.
or some sort of plant or whatever like that, steel mills and things of that nature. Um, those families are who funded the civil rights movement. Those families and the churches
Mm.
funded all that stuff. So after we get the voting rights bill passed, and Lyndon B. Johnson signs that into rights, they started figuring out what happened. How did these Negroes get this far? Because you got to understand what racism is. Racism is I don't like your skin color. That's prejudice. Racism is economic. I don't want you on the same level as me economically or any other way. I want to be here and you down here sociologically, right?
Mm.
And economically. So they figured out that these families were the ones really funding this stuff. So they started shipping all of those, they started shutting the factories down and moving all of that work overseas. The factories are shut down. And now what did they do? They started handing out scholarships, going off to college. And then here comes Vietnam War, going off to war. And while they're in war, here's heroin. When they come back, here's cocaine, and here's crack, and here's all these things that are happening that we did not give ourselves. None of us owns a poppy field where the heroin is grown in the other
Mm.
countries. None of us own any planes to fly all the cocaine from Colombia into our neighborhoods. No, where did it come from? And so I think it's the systemic dismantling of the men. If you pull the man out of the
Mm.
home and the man is displaced, then the woman's out of place and the kids have no place and nobody knows what's going on. It's just confusion. And when you put the man back at the head of the house behind the woman and have something strong for the kids to follow, that's the structure, man. And we can get back to a power base, and that's what we've been fighting this whole time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to go Martin Luther King on you.
No, no, I always remember when Paul got when he the jailer when he when the doors opened and the jailer said that they said he got saved and his whole family got saved. He didn't Paul didn't have to speak to everyone, he just got him saved and the whole family. And that was
Exactly.
always the sense that once you got the man, the whole family are in good and yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So having your dad around when he sees you going to Quick and making music, he's like, reminding you, look, don't, remember your upbringing and stuff. How are you balancing being in
Well,
that
my
environment?
father, he didn't necessarily know who Quick was. He didn't know his
Okay.
music. He didn't know exactly what I was into in terms of the music. He just knew I was doing stuff and I was bringing money home. I was
Okay.
working.
Okay.
So he's like the boy is working, so he's doing something. And he's not, and I was not coming to my parents and asking my parents for money. My parents haven't had to pay for anything from me since I was not, they didn't have to in terms of like if I wanted a suit, if I wanted to go somewhere, they hadn't had to pay for any of that thing for me like that since I was 13 years old. Even when I was in the eighth grade and I had a graduation, I bought my own suit.
Okay.
My parents never had to buy me a car. Now they gave me old cars that they would have, but when I purchased my first car and I bought one, I bought it with my own money. purchased all my clothes for myself. When I went to prom, I bought my tuxedo. I was working. My parents knew that I was very, very independent. And so from the time I was 13 years old, I could be out in the streets till 5 a.m. But they knew what I was doing. They knew I was either at a church playing at a musical
Okay.
or,
Okay.
I wasn't out in the streets. I was with musician friends and I was playing.
Yeah.
And so I think my dad knew that, like, he's working.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
does. He didn't realize what the content was until Quick called me one day and left it. He didn't Quick. I don't think Quick realized that I lived at home with my parents. So he called the house and left a message on the machine, and he was rapping a song that he wanted me to be a part, that he wanted me to, play on or whatever. And he rapped one of the verses and it had a lot of profanity in it. And when I got home from school or wherever I was, my dad, he pointed it out like, "What is this?" I said, "That's Quick," I had to explain to him what that was, But he knew that whatever I was into, that I loved it.
Okay.
And so he didn't bother me about that. He just kind of just was supportive and said, "Okay, as long as you are safe, as long as you're doing what you know is right, just let's see what happens." And I have very supportive parents.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind.
And somewhere in between
us for even loving us, on which I did miss you really.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
Trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay. You okay?
They don't understand what Jonas' voice meant in all spirits.
Play it.
and all these guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.